Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chandra. Let me unmute you here.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Hey, good morning, Kyle.
Good morning. Welcome. Before we start the show, this is dialed in to ElevateXchange. This is a live podcast that is live streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Welcome. Don't be shy. Say hello. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments. Are you watching this live? Are you watching the replay? Let us know. Talk to us. Reach out to us. Hang out with us here this morning. Before we get kicked off, this segment of the show, Dialed into ElevateXchange, is every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. It's a CIO, CISO, and IT director series. So every week we're going to be having some interesting conversations with CIOs, CISOs, and IT directors, talking about what's going on in their world. This is also part of ElevateXchange, which is an IT community here in DFW, the heart of DFW. We have our next event June 4th, 2020, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. with Rusty Kennington moderating with guest panelists Brandy Holbeer, Tom Sweet, Pat Benoit, and Elizabeth Hexel. It'll be an interesting Shark Tank pitch this time. It'll be pretty cool. So with that, Chandra, what are you drinking this morning?
So I'm drinking Starbucks dark roast Keurig.
Awesome. Well, cheers to that. We got some people tuning in. Hello, Ahmed. Hello, Robert Duran. Good morning, sir. We got these LinkedIn Live comments on the screen, which is really awesome. Elaine, good morning. Robert, live from Albuquerque. Welcome, man. Welcome. Let's kick the show off. There will always be somebody stronger, faster, and smarter than you. Surviving depends on your adaptability to change. Those who are the most adaptable are dialed in. Welcome to Dialed In. I'm joined by Chandra Gundlapalli. He is with Global VP of Technology for Unisys and has an interesting story to share with us today. Chandra, welcome to the show. And what are you most dialed into today?
So I'm most dialed into today is to learn, meet a lot of leaders here, and also talk about some of the modernization aspects that are going in the industry, and also share some of the learned lessons at the same time learn from the leaders here. Okay, that's what I'm interested in for today.
Awesome. So what the heck is business friction modernization? Right. That's the thing when I look at your LinkedIn profile and look at everything that you've accomplished. That's the thing that's just stuck out to me like a sore thumb.
Yep. So thank you for noticing that. So over the past 20 years or so, similar to a lot of technologists, I am also very passionate about modernizing some of the applications, looking at the emerging technology and all those things. But most importantly, what I learned in my career is don't boil the ocean. So don't come up with a 2 to 5 year roadmap or a 10-year roadmap saying that, hey, we will modernize some of the applications versus really focusing on, hey, what is the current business friction and how can we modernize that small frictional aspect and plan for an incremental modernization rather than just sending army of people. You will see big four consulting firms or other consulting firms sending army of people, spending 6 to 9 months coming up with a list of, hey, these are all the things we're going to modernize, versus really focusing on, again, I go back to the return on investment and total cost of ownership and figuring out those key areas and start modernizing. That's what I mean by business friction modernization.
Oh, I love it, man. I can't wait to get more into that. Before we do, want to do get into your background a little bit more. So you're the global vice president of applications at Unisys, right? So in your technology career, right? Take us through the story of like kind of how you got here to where you are today.
Sure. Thanks for reminding me. My graduation days. So I grew up in India. I got graduated in second best university, not the top one, second best university in India. So after that, similar to all the IT technologists, I found an opportunity in an IT company in Hyderabad in India. Then my plan was to really come here and learn more. When I say come here, come to US and learn more. But unfortunately, at the time, the economy was falling. It is around 2000, 2001 time frame-ish, and I had to really figure out how I can go to other countries and expand my career and get work on motivational aspect. Then I found an opportunity in Germany, so I went to Germany. Most of my friends came to US. I went to Germany, so thinking that, hey, I know a little bit of technology, I have some experience, I can find a job. But that really opened my eyes. So in terms of there, the culture is you need to speak German. If you don't know how to speak German, you will not be able to find a job or role. So every phone call I receive, hey, do you speak German? So that's actually
And you didn't speak German, I assume, right?
no college education. Typically in India, you don't get those electives in terms of other languages, arts, similar to US. So we did not have any Spanish, we did not have any German language, and all those things. So that was eye opener. So if you were to ask me what is the one moment in everybody's career, there is one moment which really opens the eyes and looks from a different point of view, right? So that was a moment for me. That was really an excellent opportunity for me to really figure out and adapt to the situation. So finally, I found after 3 months of journey, I found an opportunity in Berlin. I found this company where they speak about maybe 10% of English language, and so as you can imagine, in every meeting, I'll be looking at their expressions and figure out, hey, what do they mean by this? So then use some kind of a translator. So that was a good fun story there.
So
Then
so
after that.
so do you speak German now?
Yeah, I speak. Yeah. I was forced to learn the German language. So if you speak German language, I really 90% I understand. So
Yeah, that's what it's all about, being adaptable to change, right?
yeah,
Like you were forced in this position because you kind of you forced yourself into it, right? You're not forced into it, but you wanted the opportunity in Berlin, so
yep,
you forced yourself, you challenged yourself to grow in that, and that's where you thrive. That's where you adapted.
yep. Yeah, that gave me a real opportunity, right? Hey, I did not know German language, and there are some projects. I just 2 years experience out of the college, and you just need to take that opportunity, really prove yourself. So that's an opportunity presented to me. So after that, I got married. So my wife came to Germany. So then then the same story repeated. She could not find a job. She could not speak German language. So then at the time, we found an opportunity here in US. We came here. I worked at Dell Pero Systems here in Plano. If some of you are familiar, Mr. Ross Pero, he's very popular, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, I did not know that his company that I was joining, Pero Systems, but once I joined, he used to roam around the halls, and we used to get motivated about his stories. And one story I can tell is he has successfully rescued some of the folks in some of the wars there. So again, the leadership goes back to the principles that you stand by and all those things. So after Dell Pero Systems, I went to Capgemini. Then I got an opportunity at Thomson Reuters, again here in Carrollton, Texas, their tax and accounting unit. Then I got pulled into Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab opportunity is a motivating opportunity. It's not mainly driven by technology. It's driven by how do you build high performing teams. So there was a thought of moving headquarters from Bay Area for Charles Schwab to Westlake here. So that means how do you build the teams? That means how do you plan for the teams? That means how you motivate the teams and all those things. That's an excellent opportunity there. So while I was working on that, the Unisys opportunity came up saying that, hey, we are looking for some of the a leader who can lead global teams. So I go back to my German experience and India experience and other experiences, and thought, hey, it's an opportunity for me to really look from a global point of view, and also it's an opportunity to take application services, which is a $400 million business, for Unisys to $500 million very soon.
Wow.
So yeah, I joke with my teams, hey, we are moving at 1,000 miles per hour. We need to move at 3,000 miles per hour.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's very no, it's almost like that position was created for you, with what you did previously, right?
It seemed to match with what experience I had. And when I looked at the opportunity, then I was going back to, hey, I can use some of the German culture experience. When I was at Thomson Reuters, I worked with Bolivia teams. I can use that experience. And as a hands-on application developer myself, I can really help drive the discussions at the granular level also. So that's a good opportunity so far. Again, last 6 months, we made a lot of transformation in terms of people, process, and technology. We are accelerating the partnership. So I'm really excited about opportunity at scale. This is what I'm calling opportunity at scale for all my team members.
Oh,
Okay.
I love it, man. You're multilingual global technology leader. Love it, man. I mean, that's you were built for that. So let's get into business friction modernization a little bit deeper here. So, first off, like what is one myth about your profession that you'd want to debunk? Right? People think of technology, think of technologists, and they get these grand ideas that we're all sitting behind computers, just typing away. Like, don't talk to me, blinders on. Like, what's some myths that you can debunk from that?
So I think one of the learned lesson is when I interact with the C-level team members, they teach me, and one of the reason I attend some of these events is learn about their point of view and their experience, right? So we get so excited about all the shiny emerging technology. It's one thing to do a POC in a cloud or somewhere else versus if you have a particular workload or an application in your ecosystem. Okay, there is a lot of legacy operational expertise built around that, right?
Right.
So you miss that point and you think about, hey, a greenfield implementation is easy peasy. I think if you have passionate technologists, couple of them in a room, we can do a POC, we can implement that very fast. The challenge is really taking and looking at the current workload, current subject matter expertise, current operational intelligence, and moving it to the next best thing is the biggest challenge. So whenever I meet the vendors, whenever I meet the team, I continue to reiterate, hey, do we have any accelerators? How can we make this transition easy? Do we need to automate some of those stuff? How can we extract this information and put it here? So basically, that's most oftenly overlooked area that we need to really focus when we talk about the next best thing, all those things. So
Right, right. Oh, absolutely. So take us into business friction modernization. How did that come to be, that term for you?
sure. So in fact, actually, that's a good point. I go back to my actual projects. Okay. Um, when I was at TXU Energy, I was leading some of the enterprise architecture initiatives. We were putting together these huge roadmaps, like again, go back to 2 to 5 year roadmaps on how do you change the data analytics roadmap, how do you put together CRM roadmap and all those things. Then I went to Thomson Reuters, the same story repeated in terms of, hey, we need to modernize this legacy monolithic application which has 30 millions of code, which was written like 15 or 20 years back, all the spaghetti code. Then we consulted with McKinsey, the same story repeated in terms of, hey, here is a roadmap, 3 year roadmap or 4 year roadmap. And then I went to Charles Schwab and I looked at the future roadmaps in terms of data center migrations and digital transformation efforts. Again, it was 5 to 7 year roadmap. So all those things are focusing on really a 5 to 7 year roadmaps versus how do you go back and really start telling the story in terms of gradually modernizing some of the areas where that can be lift and shift and little bit of a modernization that can be done, and you will get that TCO very quickly, you will get the engagement going on, and you will really put together that incremental modernization. So a lot of patterns, a lot of architectural patterns are in place. Couple of examples are microservices, strangler patterns, and few other things. Most of the architects, if you're looking at it, they get excited about all these things in terms of you can parallelly run both the systems. Not only modernize that, but you can also continuously deploy with some of the blue-green deployments, and a lot of companies have proven it. Most of the times you see Googles of the world, Facebooks of the world, and bigger companies of the world do it, versus how can other companies, other businesses do the same. Okay.
Right.
um,
Yeah. So,
Even
so, so basically, all these this pattern that you started to notice across all these different companies, different industries, different verticals, the pattern was the same. Everyone's trying to modernize, remove friction,
yeah.
right? So, is that more of a framework, or is it more of an ideology, or like a
um,
perspective?
yeah, excellent point. So this is basically more of an thought process to really drive the discussion. Once you have that alignment and a thought process, then it will trigger thoughts for somebody to really put together a framework. Let's take a typical example of a company who is dealing with this legacy application for the last 30-40 years. If you don't think about delivering that software in the next 2 or 3 months, modernizing the software in the next couple of months, you will lose that alignment, you will lose the commitment, you will lose the engagement, and all those things, right? So that forces you to really put together the patterns, put together the deployment aspects. And one example I keep on giving is blue green deployments have been there for a long time, but how many companies are really doing the continuous integration, continuous deployment, pushing the code every week to production? You will hardly see some of them, everybody getting onto the calls waiting for 8 hours on, hey, did you push this? What happened here? um, because you don't have that foundation figured out, right? So my suggestion is to really figure out the initial foundation, focusing on the friction points, and establish the solid foundation. um, and start showing the return on investment on all those areas. There are frameworks available, there are foundational aspects aware, but we need to fundamentally change the thought process and really empower and educate all the stakeholders.
Yeah, absolutely. And then from the business side of this, right? There's the tech side, there's the code side, and then there's the business implications. What do you see as being like the biggest points of friction on the business side?
um, Business side friction, so that's an excellent point. So especially with the COVID situation, most of you have seen a big news in CNN couple of weeks back on, hey, states are looking for folks with COBOL expertise. Some of the unemployment claim systems have been written 40 years back. Nobody touched it since then. When I say nobody touched it, there was no huge update or modernization has been done, right?
Right,
So
right.
nobody has done any performance testing, and they have been let alone. And now with 20 to 30 million unemployment, with the 20 to 30%, 30 million unemployment climbs into the system, it's not scalable. System is not scalable. Now we are running into issues into how do you actually help the unemployment clients, and now there is a lot of manual work being done. So that's one example right there. Okay.
So it took on too many resources because of the way the code's written.
So the way the code was written, and it was not never tested for this scale. Nobody was expecting that this pandemic or something like this unforeseen scenario would happen, right? So
Right, right.
that's an area right there. So tomorrow there could be something else similar, similar to this. There could be some other pandemic scenario, right? So um, the the challenge is right there in terms of really figuring out how can you proactively, okay, you don't need to lift and shift and move all the mainframe ecosystem into cloud. Figure out, again, go back to that business friction, right? The business friction here is unemployment benefits. Okay, how do you start modernizing those that business friction into the next level? Okay, and uh, and also at the same time, a lot of perception in terms of, hey, if you lift and shift your current legacy application into cloud, everything will be solved automatically.
Right.
We have seen it a lot of times,
It's
and
called cloud magic, right? Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Cloud magic, and cloud providers are automatically going to take care of it. Or some of the perceptions. I know perceptions are changing, but now it's going to be the shared responsibility in terms of security. It's going to be the responsibility of the team members to really figure out. Again, go back to in this example. Let's take the same example of unemployment benefits, right? Hey, if the system is not scalable, we should be thinking about how do we actually modernize? Can we bring in some of the microservices concept and really scale using the cloud scalability point of view? Can we start peeling one layer at a time and take it to the next level, right? So, like that, we need to start painting the picture. And on top of it, once you start painting the picture, now you can add on the shiny things. For example, in the industry, most of you are hearing about, hey, in the next couple of years, Kubernetes market is going to go crazy. uh, Close to 60% of the applications which will be deployed will be using containers concept, right? Then it will make your life easier. Microservices combined with containers, combined with automation, boom, your efficiency levels are really, really up there, right? So like that, we need to be thinking about really going back to the real friction point and modernizing. So don't go and say, hey, we are going to modernize all these mainframe hundreds of applications. That story is going to take a long time, and it's going to be a huge battle.
Yeah, so in summary, basically, the cloud is not the complete savior. It's all about looking at the minor frictions within that, right? And how you can automate and how you can change those. I love that, man.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Mhm.
yeah, so within this mindset, if you will, right? That's the things that you look for, right? But then standing up a team to get them on the same page, alignment globally, right? That's
Yep.
that's a huge challenge,
Yep.
right? So what have you learned from doing that?
So excellent point. So here also, I go back to something I call as courageous leadership. When I say courageous leadership, it talks
Craziest
about
craziest leadership?
courageous. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Um, so not crazy leadership, courageous leadership.
Oh, courageous,
Yeah,
courageous. Okay, got it.
courageous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, so the thought process here is, let's say if you're leading a team of 2,000 or 3,000 team members, if you keep on doing the same thing, that if you keep on doing the same status quo, you will not be able to really build the capabilities in terms of for the teams. You need to be really thinking about changing the operating model the teams are going to work on. Okay, technology everybody gets passionate about. Unless you change the foundational operating model, the acceleration speed to market is not going to change. Okay.
Mhm.
So a couple of years back, I started reading a book. Some of my leadership team members suggested a book called Team of Teams by General Stanley McChrystal. So a quick synopsis is, back in 2005 or 6ish, there was Afghan war with US Army, and the US was losing because the enemy had a lot of insights built at the ground level. Okay, whereas US Army was following the strict hierarchical structure. Hey, manager, the information goes up, information comes down. That's going to be a delay of empowering the team members, right? Versus the enemy has inbuilt in knowledge and insights, and some of the lessons learned for US Army is to adapt to the situation. And General Stanley McChrystal wrote a book, and actually that was implemented there on really empowering the folks on the ground. You pretty much put the boundaries and you empower the teams. And now I am actually in the process of finalizing the operating model for the team members in my organization, thinking about, hey, what are the priorities for this year and next year? We need to be cloud ready, we need to be cloud native, right? So how can you form those pillars, and how can you create this, break the silos and create the team of teams internally in application services at Unisys? Okay, so please think about it. I strongly suggest all the leaders who are listening here to think about how do you go about breaking the silos from this hierarchical organization into a fluid structure where you empower the team. Tomorrow, somebody could be working on, let's say, containers or Kubernetes. Day after tomorrow, you will hear something Google has released or some other thing AWS released. How do you actually create a channel and environment where your team will be ready to take on it? So that will be a key to success in adapting to the next best thing. So um, again, a synopsis is break the silos, create this team, empower the team, and make sure they get the support needed. And it goes back to the courageous leadership on not thinking about, hey, I have this 15 years experience, I can manage the teams, and keeping the status quo versus really thinking about changing the structure on the ground. Okay.
Wow, wow, breaking the silos, team of teams. That's huge. Robert Duran says, here in New Mexico, it's the people mindset that is the friction. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yep, excellent comment. So, a lot of things you hear about. Hey, if the process is not broken, don't change it. So, let's go back to the COVID situation now. What's going on with the unemployment benefit system that is broken? If we keep the same thing going on, you will encounter these issues. And if you don't empower the folks on the ground, if you don't really give them an opportunity and motivate them, first of all, they will not be motivated. They will leave. Second, you will have broken legacy systems that you will be forced either to pay penalties or fees, or you will end up in these crazy situations. So, as a courageous leader, again, it goes back to how do you change the mindset? How do you create the channel? How do you motivate the team members? So, please think about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the book. Brad was asking what the book is. What is a good published book for the address that addresses this topic? You said it was Team of Teams by who?
By General Stanley McIstrell.
Got it.
Yeah.
So Team of Teams.
Yep.
Cool. So, what else on the horizon has you fired up? Has you excited? Looking into moving beyond the COVID-19 thing, like what has you excited?
So, a couple of things going on at Unisys and also globally. I'm following all the emerging technology coming up, right? So, assuming that we skill the team members, assuming that we do the we start doing the cloud migrations for all the companies. There is still an opportunity on what is the next best thing. How can we increase the efficiency levels to the next level, right? So here is a challenge in the industry that most of the cloud providers, public or private, they still have a lot of maturity to go in terms of cloud bursting. Okay, I know it's a technology jargon, but let me translate that.
Cloud bursting.
Cloud bursting, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cloud bursting. Here we go.
yeah. So I would like to really see the maturity of me sitting here in my organization and my team and auto magically deploying the workloads on-prem and also across multiple clouds. Okay, I should not worry about moving my workloads, spending 2 years, move it to one public cloud, then spend 2 more years. If other cloud provider is giving me a lot of discounts or new functionality, I should not worry about all those things. We should be thinking about horizontally scaling all these workloads with a magic. I know there is.
Aren't those different public clouds though also written in different languages per se?
You're right. You're
Slight
absolutely right.
variations, right?
Yep. Yep. You're absolutely right. So for example, if you take the AWS Vision Services, which is different than Amazon, Azure or AWS, have a different point of view in terms of cloud native services. You cannot just lift and shift one from here to there. But the thought process is that's why the containers and also Kubernetes management aspects comes into the picture. On how do you design your system upfront so that it will be cloud agnostic. Okay, you need to be really thinking about that as a C-level executive or CIO. You should be challenging your team. Don't jump onto this shiny object and say you got your vision services or speech services or some other data analytics services in the cloud, versus think about in the next 2 to 3 years, how can we scale this across multi clouds, integrating seamlessly. Okay,
Wow.
that's going to be a challenge. That's going to be an interesting challenge. So
Yeah, cloud agnostic. I've not even heard that really being used because that's not really a thing yet, right? You can't really be cloud agnostic today, or can you?
So there are some aspects, there are some use cases cloud vendors boast about, but I go back to asking the vendors, either it could be Google or AWS or Azure, hey, please show me a actual workload.
Yeah.
which can scale across, and where you can really, I can really lift and shift from here to here. I have not seen those coming up very often with a detailed case, proven case studies. But however, if you are using some concepts like pivotal cloud foundry on-prem, there are some instances where they say about, hey, you don't need to worry about moving the workloads from your on-prem workloads to cloud. But again, that is not proven. Once you start implementing whatever that is in-house, you will customize the heck out of it, unless you put boundaries around it. So that would be a big scenario to go back to the really challenging the cloud vendors. And that's what I'm really excited about. What is the next best thing? How do you actually do this horizontal scaling of this workload? So
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I mean that seems like quite the feat to become cloud agnostic, right? Just again with all the variables and the differences in the languages.
yep,
It's not like everyone's just hosting VMware and you can just upload VMware wherever you want. That's not the world that we're in today. So
that's right.
this idea of cloud bursting, right? You'd just be able to burst into AWS as you need it, or Azure, or whatever, right?
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Google can reinvent something else tomorrow and they can come up with a cool feature. I should not worry about rewriting everything to adapt to that. I should just worry about how can I integrate with minimal investment, right? So let me take this opportunity to go back to the vision and mission I have personally, and also for Unisys. We want to cut down the speed to market by 80%. That is the mission. Okay, 80%. So that goes back to challenging ourselves in terms of, do we have any accelerators? Are we asking the vendors the right questions in terms of building those accelerators? I should not spend too much time customizing the heck out of all these things whenever I start this new thing. So all those things boiled up or mixed together, we will be able to achieve that speed to market reduction. 80%.
That's a huge feat right there, 80%. Let's talk about let's shift gears into AI. You've already done a lot with AI. Let's kind of back it up a little bit and then tell us about your journey into AI.
Sure. Absolutely. So when I was at TXU Energy, we were creating the cost-effective data and analytics strategy, partnering with a lot of leaders there, and we were able to quickly come up with a cost-effective data strategy using EMC Isilon structure and also Hadoop and HANA and all those things. I think most of the companies have done that journey in one flavor or another. When we say data strategy, please think about creating this hot, warm, and cold layer concept, and challenge the vendors in terms of automatically tiering this based on your SLA commitments. Okay, that journey most of the companies are very familiar with, and we don't need to worry too much about that journey. Now let's add, how do you actually put the ML and AI on top of it? Okay. Um, so there is a concept of auto ML. Automatically, the frameworks will figure out, hey, what are the algorithms we need to use based on the data characteristics? What are the parameters that can be used to train this model? The concepts have come up in the last couple of years, but before somebody starts this auto ML journey, again, that is one more shiny thing that everybody gets excited about. Hey, auto ML, it's going to solve all the problems, versus really getting your house in order in terms of establishing the data governance principles. Okay, again, most of the companies, either it could be Fortune 100, Fortune 500, or Fortune 1000, most of the overlooked area is lack of investment in data governance. If you put garbage in, whatever ML, whatever AI algorithms you will put there, are not going to give you the accuracy that you are looking for. You will get the garbage out. So 70 to 80% challenges are really streamlining and cleaning that in terms of data stewardness, in terms of data ownership, in terms of really having a single master record. So huge opportunity right there that I have not seen. I worked at Schwab, I worked at Thomson Reuters, I have seen some other implementations. That's the big challenge that we need to really address first before we go to the next journey. Okay, let's say we go to the next journey. Right now, the concepts come into the picture in terms of, hey, are we looking for predictions or are we looking for accuracy? we need to help empower the business stakeholders take the decision upfront. So they don't need to you will not frustrate them after 6 months saying that, hey, oh, we did not know that you were looking for this accuracy, we need more time, versus predictions. So please note that accuracy and predictions are different. Now a lot of niche players are coming into the industry focusing on that same thought process. They start the conversation with the business stakeholders on, hey, business, if you are looking for predictions, we will be able to give you the return on investment in couple of months. But if you are looking for accuracy, we need lots of investment. We need to train, we need to validate the accuracy of the algorithms and all those things. So you need to be very clear in which direction you want to go on that front as well. Okay. On top of it, then now you need to figure out how can you bring in the auto ML algorithms and concepts and all those things. So in a nutshell, work on data governance. 80% spend some time, clean the data, and make sure it's not redundant, make sure it is clear, make sure you have the owners identified. Then really think about how can you position your strategy. Is it prediction or is it accuracy? Then partner with some of the vendors who are giving you this auto ML. Now all the vendors, SAP HANAs of the world, or even AWS or Azure, they are adopting the auto ML. That should be that. With that, you should be able to cut down the speed to market again very drastically, close to 30-40%. But even the auto ML aspect, nobody can guarantee, like a third party, right? For example, some of the other areas, you have a consortium of folks where they certify the accuracy of the results, but there is nobody in the world who is guaranteeing the accuracy of auto ML aspects. It goes back to the hardware specifications, it goes back to all the structure, all the framework and software. So you need to take a decision on qualifying yourself. Hey, is it based on the bias, and is it accurate or not? And with that, you will not be able to really simply say AutoML is going to say take care of the problem. You still need that augmentation with the human domain expertise, and it's going to be augmented ML, not an AutoML. I know it's a long story, but I'm excited about sharing those learned
Yeah, well,
experience.
I love the delineation between prediction and accuracy. I've never not now that I'm thinking about it, when you think about AI and you look at it in those two separate buckets, I mean, it really kind of makes a whole lot of sense, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I've just not seen it done that well. So kudos to that. I appreciate that explanation.
Sure.
So so what else? What else have I failed to ask you that I probably should have?
I think you touched on the key points. Actually, those are the key areas. And the last thing I wanted to really touch about, the other thing that I am really excited about is in the next three years, the development concept is going to really change. You will see a lot of citizen developers in the companies delivering software and applications. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually a emerging technology or a trend. It's not a technology, but a trend.
Mhm.
Currently, that market, low code no code market, is at $5 billion. In the next 3 years, it's going to go up to $50 billion market. Okay.
So
um,
low code, no code market. So this is like
Low code no code, yeah.
it's like the gig economy again, like full circle, right?
That's right, full circle. And also, for example, the platforms like ServiceNow and Salesforce and OutSystems, I can name some of them, but their thought process is to really empower the business stakeholders who can develop these applications. Okay, let me tell a brief story about this is what I get excited about when I see the leaders and thought process. Right,
Yep.
Bill McDermott was SAP CEO. So when he took SAP from 60 billion to 160 billion dollars in the last 5 to 8 years. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Now he is the CEO of ServiceNow. Okay.
Okay.
One would imagine, hey, what was the driving force for his motivation to join this ServiceNow company, right? Now, ServiceNow's goal is to really empower the business stakeholders, implement these applications on their own. So now he is on an exhilarated passion. He's exhilarating the partnership, and he is really making a mark in the industry and helping, again, providing those capabilities for the citizen developers to develop the code. Okay, that's what I am really excited about. And I would like to see, even though the platforms are not enterprise grade level, the complexity and all those things. I see a lot of push. I see a lot of applications being developed on this platform, and I can't really wait and see after 3 years the partnership between IT and business stakeholders. We'll see how that is going to emerge. So maybe business stakeholders might say, "Yeah, we don't love you so much,"
Yeah.
but IT folks will say, "Hey, complex scenarios you cannot do on your own. You still need IT." So there will be a good friction. On top of it, I would like to really see in the next 3 to 5 years is me as a developer sitting in front of my Alexa here and telling Alexa, "Hey Alexa, open an application. Start writing this application. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, 90% of it is done. I just need to maybe finalize some of these tweaks and develop applications." So I don't think there is anybody who is actively working on this at this point. But that's
Yeah.
something that if I were given an opportunity to really put together some thoughts, that's where I would invest on speech to apps, not to
Speech to
speech to
app.
text, speech
Speech
to
to
apps.
app. Wow. Yeah. That would be huge, right? I'm
Yeah,
sure that's coming, right? Because that's just the next wave. The next wave of like all of us looking down at these little screens to no screen at all.
yep.
That's just that next frontier.
Yep, absolutely. I can drive in my car and I can just start telling Alexa, "Hey Alexa, open an app and start writing this navigation app or something else," and it'll give me some code snippets. It'll copy from somewhere else, from
Yeah.
GitHub or somewhere else, so I can start customizing. Then I can add AI ML aspect into the picture, and it'll ask me, "Hey, are you looking for accuracy or prediction?" I'm going to say prediction, and I'm going to just deliver the application right away. So,
Yeah, but by the time your self-driving car makes it to the Uber airport,
yep,
your app will be written.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I can't wait to see that level of automation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Elizabeth Hexel, thanks for joining. She says, "What about SaaS applications?
Mhm.
Are any of them cloud agnostic? And what are the downsides of multiple cloud environments?"
Yep. Excellent question. So, SaaS applications, it's not cloud agnostic, as you can imagine, Elizabeth, in terms of CRM applications for Salesforce is tightly integrated into their environment. We cannot lift and shift into other areas, so we have not seen that move. But however, I'm very happy to see most of the vendors, SaaS applications vendors, are investing in industry vertical applications. Okay. Now, again, I go back to ServiceNow. Good story. Bill McDermott and ServiceNow team announced there are two industry vertical solutions they're announcing. One is for banking sector. One is for telecommunication sector. So hope to see most of the SaaS offerings offer these industry verticals. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel again, starting from scratch. Okay. Tomorrow, let's say a banking company, maybe Schwab or JP Morgan, and they would like to offer this solution to some other vendors, they can simply go to ServiceNow and enable that 80% of the instrumentation using the ServiceNow platform. They can tweak a little bit and then start offering the solution. So that's there. But going back to Elizabeth's question, I have not seen the SaaS applications being cloud agnostic. The second question is, hey, what are the challenges related to all the um, public cloud environments? Yeah, downsides of multiple public cloud environments. So I go back to a aspect of, I don't think any one cloud is matured where it can offer all the offerings. One size does not fit, in my point of view. There are few areas. For example, Google is very good at ML and AI aspect. Okay, versus Azure Shop is very good at some of the Microsoft capabilities. It could be IaaS applications or some of those applications that you have invested very heavily already in your on-prem. They are good at this. AWS is very good at providing the flexibility that you need. So we need to be really thinking about how do you put together this hybrid cloud, multi-cloud aspect. Then the technology, we need to figure out, challenge the vendors. So last week I was meeting VMware partners. We were talking about, hey, what is that they can help us? And one of the aspect is they're providing, hey, Kubernetes and containers could be a good containerization aspect that can help manage these areas very effectively. All these public clouds in a central management portal, where we don't need to spend too much time doing operations here. You don't need to build niche skill sets in AWS, niche skill sets in Azure. All that you need to be familiar about cloud principles, and using some of this tooling and the framework, we should be able to really mature in this space, addressing some of the challenges in terms of multi-cloud environment.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Some of my vendors even have started to market the term split cloud, like where they're maybe they're primarily Google Cloud, but then they fail over to AWS in an instant, right? Can you talk about that?
So split cloud and in an instance fail
Yeah,
over
right.
to some other
Yeah.
cloud.
What does that? What does that in an instance mean? Yeah,
That's
right.
right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in an instance, so I have not seen. Again, I want to reiterate. These are the things we should be challenging the public cloud vendors. Whenever I go to some of these conferences, I ask these questions to AWS or Azure folks, and they still say, "Hey, there is a foundation that is being built." But when we ask about a real use case,
Mhm.
in an instance, can you please fail over to this cloud? I have not seen that use case. I have not seen that instrumentation aspect, right?
Yep.
So I think the challenge is, um, going back to greenfield implementation. Maybe if you write a hello world application in one cloud and you can split it to other one, that's easy. That's easy peasy. But somebody has to really think about the common workloads. Common workloads are, hey, mainframe footprint, SAP footprint, your .NET application footprint, the knowledge you have built around those processes. You cannot just instantly fail over unless you have those extraction aspects coming, unless you figure out the solution accelerators which can extract that information, so you can, that can help you with instrumenting instantly fail out to the other cloud.
So big disconnect from marketing messages to reality of the technical limitations.
Couldn't agree more. That's why, yeah, that's why I keep on going back to business friction modernization.
Right.
I have not seen a maturity in the industry where somebody can come and say, "Hey, here are hundreds of applications. We can instantly move or fail over to another cloud, or we can instantly deploy it to multiple clouds. We can instantly solve you all your billing questions." So there is plenty of maturity has to be
Has to be
gone in
built
that
out.
space. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And that's just the thing. Like marketing likes to do we like to do our thing in marketing. We like to
Yep.
ruin things. We hang on one little piece of information. Like, wait, did you say we could switch over? Us, we're gonna say switch instantly. That's what
Yeah,
we're
that's
gonna say.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like this. Yeah.
Big app.
My suggestion, yeah, my suggestion is really, please challenge the vendors and figuring out if they have written any automation to move the workloads, if they have written any accelerators to assess your workloads. One of the challenge and something that we are really trying to focus is, if you look at the cloud assessments, typical scenario is, if you hire a vendor or a consultant, you will receive a bunch of folks and they will spend 6 months of time looking at the portfolio. They will interview all the stakeholders from C level to the folks on the ground, and they will prepare this huge document and they will come and present this story again, go back to 2 to 5 year roadmap. Versus, how can you really cut down the time frame to assess your application workloads currently? Hey, if you are using mainframe shop, if you're using .NET shop, if you're using Java shop, can we actually look at the application dependency using some of the tooling? Can we look into the code level, how complex the code is? How was the code written? Was there any automation or testing that is in place? And really come up with that report, cloud readiness report, that will help the executives to take a decision on, is it cloud ready, or do you need to modernize first then move to the cloud? All those things, the time it takes to do all these things, again, I go back to cutting down 80%. Really put that as a mission and really focus on challenging the vendors, challenging your team. And that's an area we can right there is an opportunity right there that we can focus on.
Oh, absolutely, and more companies will be focusing on that now. I believe, especially with what's been happening and realizing that you need to operate a lean organization, right?
Yep.
So absolutely. So, as we switch into this last part here, I want to talk a little bit about your career and just some friendly advice that we can offer to people that are in a similar position. What's one thing that you wish you had known when you began your career?
It's an interesting question. I wish I was a little bit more about the business centric thought process, not just a technology thought process. So, as we grow in our maturity in our careers, we will soon realize hey, technology is going to be just an enabler for the business problem. So, please think of all the companies or all the teams that you're going to join that as if it is a startup. Think of uh, think as if you are the CEO of the team or that organization that you are going to join, and you should be looking all the aspects um, as a CEO of the company, as if you are going to ask investment by the venture capitalist. So that's the one learned lesson I suggest my team members every day when I meet some of the junior team members to think about from that point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the best resources that have helped you along the way? Resources that potentially could be found publicly online for anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. So LinkedIn platform. So me talking to Kyle, the networking goes a long way. So I my suggestion is please start networking with the team members, and please think about learning from the network itself, and also start thinking about some of the VCs, some of the leadership talks available. I'm a big fan of Shark Tank. I look at Mr. Wonderful advice and Mr. Kuban's advice, and I don't follow one, but I mix all of those advices and say, yeah, hey, if you're owning a business, you need to take out your emotional stuff and you need to really help the team grow the business. Then you can talk about charitable things and all those things. I'm just giving one example. So some of the resources are this, and really figuring out and networking is going to go a long way for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And last question for you. What is a daily habit that you do to stay dialed in to all this, to stay dialed into your career and to your mission?
um, so that's a great question again. I go back to in this scenario Mark Cuban's comments. I follow some of these leaders and their thought process, right? If you are not active and if you are not 24/7 business, somebody else is going to kick your butt. Some other competition is going to take over your business, and you should be really at your full level 24/7. Okay, that means hey, not only just one day, it needs to be every day. You should be thinking about the business on every aspects, and you need to be energetic all the time. 24/7 shop is what I think makes me awake at night and be available for my team members.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Chandra. Appreciate you being on the show today.
Yep.
And that's basically where we cut the podcast. But Robert, thank you so much. He said thank you for the info and influence. A good interview. Appreciate Deepak for showing up today. Um, I can't read that, but I can't read the name here. But thank you for showing up today. Chris Walls, awesome support. Brad Bleak, appreciate it. Cool. Chandra, again, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for motivating me. Now we need to go and move at 3,000 miles per hour.
Move at 3,000 miles per hour. I
Yeah.
love it. Love it. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in today. Remember, this show is it airs every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. This is a live show, of course, but it's also a podcast. So if you can't tune into the show, be sure to check us out on the podcast. Cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you very much.